Yeah,
well, speaking of Ford and I'm bringing some reinforcements in here.
Oh my goodness!
Everybody knows side shot.
Backed by popular demand.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend, side shot.
This is going to be tight quarters, but we'll squeeze him in. You want to scoot up a little bit? Can you?
Well, I was thinking scoot back. So
or I was thinking scoot up so that you can be heard on the microphone.
Okay.
You know,
how are you supposed to get yourself in?
Dad will fix it in post.
There is nothing better than live parenting. Yeah.
All right.
Get a glimpse into Keith's world here. Yes.
Right.
So, I got a question for Sideshot. Do you think that the Ford F-150 Lightning is perhaps one of the most exciting electric vehicles to come to the market?
I do. I think it's a very good concept, and it's kind of it's almost like what Rivian is doing and the Cybertruck, which is also not really a truck, but it's trying to be the first electric truck, which could change a lot of things about trucks.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I remember when we were at not PRI, we were at SEMA, and we got our eyes firsthand on a new F-150 Lightning EV. You were pretty excited about it because we were covering that live. You were watching our stream, which was pretty neat. You pointed this out, and I got to give credit where credit is due, because Sideshot is the one that brought this to, in my opinion, a light for people to kind of understand what Ford's thought process was behind this, which was, if you're going to put a Ford pickup truck out, you got to make it look like a Ford pickup truck. And that's what they did.
He and I talked about this, and and you guys have, similarly with the Lexus, with the new, was it the GX? When the GX came out, and I said, well, it looks just like the old one. And you, Jay, and you, Sideshot, said, well, that's on purpose. And Ford's doing the same thing here. Personally, I would have been okay with it to be noticeably different than the F-150 lineup, the traditional. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you guys are in agreement, and I think a lot of other people are thinking, no, Ford's strategy is it needs to look and feel like an F-150 so that we don't scare people off.
Unlike the Mustang Mach-E, which is a completely different animal. Yes, there were traits of the original Ford Mustang, but what Ford was trying to do was not give you want you to believe that it was an all-electric, actual, true Mustang sports car, because that's not what it was meant to be. Whereas the Ford F-150 is an F-150, and if you're going to name it an F-150, it better have at least 80 to 90% of the capabilities of the original Ford F-150. And by all accounts, it looks like they have achieved that and some. And we've got some news on that front today. Can you cue Bert on this one, please?
I hate to say I told you so.
Okay, so for anyone out there saying that it'll never work, it's never going to happen, okay, two things that Ford has sold out recently of, and that is the Ford Illuminator $3,900 crate motor that everybody hates, apparently, and that's why they're sold out. They sold them, they bought them all so they could just go throw them away, I guess. I don't know, so they can get rid of them. Then you've got the Ford F-150 Lightning EV, which is now what? Sold out for 2022?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
That's right.
To the point to where they had to stop taking reservations because they have met and or exceeded their capabilities to be able to deliver and produce.
Yeah, so, and then you have on top of that the dealerships taking advantage or attempting, some dealerships, I need to be fair here, trying to take advantage of that situation. Now, this is a warning to me. So you have the Rivian model. Okay, so if we're going to get into the EV game, if we're going to get into the EV market, there are some established protocols. You know, Tesla kind of started that whole thing on a big scale. Rivian was next. Ford's now entering the market. And the difference in those three is that Ford is a traditional dealership model. The other two are not.
Correct.
And so you have situations where some of these dealers are attempting to gouge, I guess, for lack of a better term, this short supply that, Jay, you just referenced in availability, these F-150s.
Right.
And we found this on Electrek, but Electrek.
Electrek,
but it's out there widely. You know, they had 200,000 reservations.
Yeah, it's 200,000.
They're going to try to crank 15,000 of them out this year in 2022.
Right.
55,000 in 23. So here's the danger that I see. If you're going to try to gouge people based on supply and demand, and you burn those consumers, they're not going to buy your brand anymore. So if Rivian's not doing it, and Tesla's not doing it, and some of these other direct-to-consumer manufacturers, they're going to risk Ford's going to step in at some point and go, okay, dealers, knock it off or we're cutting you out. And that turns the whole dealer model on its head.
It does. The other side of that, too, is the low dollar amount that it takes to reserve one of these things. Is that something that bites them, or should they have increased that to get more of a commitment? Because can't you cancel at any time on this reservation, lose your $100 or whatever? Or do you get a full refund?
It's refundable. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really no risk. But they have a reason for that, and GM did it too. I don't know what that reason is. What was the Cybertruck? $200? $1,000?
I think it was $1,000.
Okay.
I think it was $1,000. Yeah.
But it was refundable.
Yeah.
So to add on to that, Jay, this tweet from Jim Farley that you found. Now, by the way, folks, we are on Twitter at The Counter Show. If you're picking us up on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you get notified when we have more news about this. But Jay, what's going on with the latest news on the F-150?
Well, so for reservation holders or for those who wish they were reservation holders, Jim Farley announced actually today, this is hot off the press, that the configurator for the highly anticipated F-150 is finally live. You got 4 trims: the Pro, the XLT, the Lariat, and the Platinum. And the Pro starts at just $39,974 before any incentives, which I did some looking up. I think you can get up to $7,500 off from the federal government for purchasing an all-electric vehicle, depending on where you live. I checked it out. My zip code, I do qualify for the maximum of $7,500 incentive, but the minimum in most states is around $2,500. They have 8 colors available that are at no additional cost, from my understanding. They have a 9th color, which is called Rapid Red, that will be available at additional cost of $495. And I started configuring one, and I got up, and I found some interesting things too. And if you want to, Keith, do you want to bring up a configure and start?
Well,
let's walk through this.
I was going to offer this. You guys, let us know in the comments if you are interested in seeing us build one of these on a video. And we've done this before. We did it with Rivian.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it.
This one says he'll do it. You know, I think we have a willing volunteer. We're happy to go through the build process and do a dedicated video for that. Let us know if you'd be interested in seeing that in the comments, and we might take a shot at it.
Yeah, and so just in a nutshell, some of the things that I did discover, you could get up to over $100,000 on the Platinum Series, easy. The Pro, you cannot purchase the extra range. You only get the single range battery pack. But the XLT and the Lariat, as an option, you can get the extended range battery. It comes at an additional cost of around $10,000, which is a question that kept reoccurring, or not necessarily a question, but a comment that kept reoccurring about the cost of the batteries and all of this stuff, that you were going to be spending $30,000, $40,000 on batteries, which is just not the case. We still have another video that we need to get out, where a Corvette was converted to an electric vehicle, and the guy didn't have anywhere near close to that invested into that thing. But so the Lariat and the XLT, you can purchase it, but the Platinum series automatically comes with that range, and it's well over 300 miles, close to 400 miles in range. So which is pretty significant for a truck like this.
What is the range difference between those if you're going to pay that much extra money?
Right. So let's go check that out. Let's see. Battery range.
230.
There you go.
230, and that's on the Pro model.
And what's the extended?
Well, these would be good questions for a dedicated video segment where we dig into that a little bit more specifically.
Yeah, so there you go, 230. And then it gives you a little bit more information about, you're going to get increased, obviously, torque and horsepower with the extra motors. 300-mile range, I think, is what it is. That's pretty interesting. For $10,000 more, is that worth it for you? We'll talk about that in another segment. I think for some it would be, especially. And here's what's interesting: the Pro model, which they say is specifically designed for, to target construction workers, sites, and stuff like that, fleets. You can't get the extra battery range. I would think that would be something that they would want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, what's the logic there, right? Like, is it to, control, the fewer options you offer typically means you can shave cost, because
right.
They're all getting very, it's kind of a wholesale deal. So
if you look at the Pro MSRP at $39,974, and then if you look at the XLT, it's $52,974. I think they're trying to get you into that XLT, is what they are. And the XLTs the XLTs and Lariats are used heavily in the construction world. I know that to be a fact. But I would think that if you get, just a standard base Pro model, that they should offer that as well. But that's, I'm sure that Ford's heard that already,
Well, and again, as this information comes available, just make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and we'll give you updates on some of this availability. Sometimes we get to it before anybody else out there in YouTube land. So
you got it.
There you go.
You got it.